Those are some of the great images that you'll find and see when you come to St. Louis, home to the world champion St. Louis Cardinals. And tonight, the Cardinals welcome the Houston Astros for the first of three. And welcome to Cardinals Baseball with my partner tonight, Rick Horton. I'm Dan McLaughlin. Including tonight, the Cardinals have 15 games remaining in this regular season. The point being, though, Rick, don't take anybody for granted. That includes Houston this evening.
And 9 of those games, 9 of those 15, will be against Houston and Chicago. The Cardinals have not played very well in Chicago. They've only won 2 out of 6 games, and they've struggled a bit in Houston as well. They swept the Astros here in August. The Cardinals are going to need to win at least 6 or 7 of those games if they want to be the wild card in the National League.
And it begins this evening with Kyle Loesch, who could be in the conversation with some of these guys, whether it be HAMELS, Kimbrel, Kane, Gonzalez, or R.A. Dickey. They're all up for the Cy Young Award. A look at them when we come back. Tonight, that's how some of them get loose and get ready. Kyle Loesch, as we mentioned, in the conversation for the Cy Young. Rick Horton, though, looks at the top 5, the front runners right now in the National League.
R.A. Dickey continues to baffle hitters with the knuckleball. He's first in the league in ERA, second in strikeouts and wins. The Mets might not be playing for anything, but Dickey is. And the Cy Young Award seems like Dickey's to lose. Gio Gonzalez became the first pitcher in the big leagues to win 19 games, and the first to 20 shouldn't be tough. With a 2.95 ERA and Strasburg out, he is the stabilizing force for the first-place Nationals and is certainly deserving. Matt Cain has a perfect game this year and has his Giants headed for another NL West title. Wins and strikeouts are a bit low, but he's been hot lately and hasn't lost since early August. A closer hasn't won the Cy Young since 2003, but Craig Kimbrell deserves recognition. He leads the league in saves, second in save percentage, and his minuscule 1.12 ERA is one of the lowest a full-time closer has ever had. Cole Hamels has been one of the biggest reasons the Phillies have found themselves back in the playoff picture. He's 15-6 and a few strikeouts shy of 200. A few more good starts, and Hamels is certainly worth considering.
All right, Rick, thank you. It's Kyle Loesch here tonight. A few more wins for him. Who knows? He might be your Cy Young Award winner. First pitch and a look at the last 5 winners of the Roberto Clemente Award, which is presented by Chevrolet. And it pays tribute to Clemente's achievements and character. And what they do is they recognize players that understand the value of helping others. So quite a list there. And the nominee for St. Louis this year is Matt Holliday, who's done a lot off the field, but we know he's done a lot on it as well.
Yeah, the on the field we always talk about, but the off the field deserves recognition. The Roberto Clemente Award, I think an outstanding thing for baseball. Holliday's been involved in Make-A-Wish, Cardinal Glennon Hospital's Homers for Health, and he also has taken over the Albert Pujols tournament, and he is helping and serving a lot of people in St. Louis.
Our friend Don Brown here locally handing out the award to Matt Holliday. Back with more in a moment. And this evening kicks off an all-important series against Houston. First pitch comes your way next.
Is brought to you by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds. By your Mid-America Chevy dealers, the #1 selling brand in St. Louis. Find us at stlchevy.com. By Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers, #1 for quality tires and expert auto service. And by Steak and Shake. Steak and Shake, just no equal. Around Major League Baseball, we recognize and honor the life of Roberto Clemente. Congratulations to Matt Holliday, the recipient this year locally of that Clemente Award. A look at the Astros lineup: Altuve, Moore, and Wallace. Then Maxwell, Lowry, Martinez, Castro, Dominguez, and the pitcher Abad. A lot of new names and new faces to the everyday lineup with Houston, but that is a fixture for St. Louis, and that's Matt Holliday.
Such a durable player for St. Louis all season long, and congratulations to Matt for his nomination for the Roberto Clemente Award. And, you know, if you're a big league player and your name is associated with Roberto Clemente, I can tell you that's a big deal.
You bet it is. So Kyle Loesch gets the start tonight, and the right-hander has one of the best all-time winning percentages this season ever for a single season in Cardinals history.
Best summary for him is he's a pitch maker. He does not make a lot of mistakes, does not walk very many batters. Stuff is not overwhelming, but he knows how to pitch and knows how to win.
Here's Jose Altuve, who's batting .291, and the first pitch is a strike at 89 miles an hour. And that's the thing about him, Rick, is that he doesn't have overpowering stuff, but a great changeup and pinpoint control. 5 home runs, 34 RBIs for Altuve. Pops it foul and out of play.
So there's two things with Loesch. You have to have the pitch, then you've got to make it. It's one thing to say you've got a good variety, which he does, the changeup, the slider, and the sinking fastball, but you have to be good with them. And I mean 95% good with them. You can't make a lot of mistakes. That's why pitchers lose. They hang a pitch, hang a slider, hang a changeup. That's how you lose.
Got him to reach, slowly hit to the left side. Freeze on the run and makes the play. It was that type of play that we saw David Freese be tested on time and again over the weekend against LA. It's Holliday, Jay, and Beltran in the outfield. Freeze, Cosmo on the left side of the infield, Descalso and Craig on the right side behind the plate. He's also a fixture, and that's Yadier Molina. Around the horn is presented by Dobbs.
Mike Shannon made a great point in our pregame show. He said, I think the Cardinals need to find out their best shortstop defensively and let them play every day. Because right now defense matters for St. Louis. They've struggled since the 1st of September defensively.
Plaza Tire Service replay, and they get Altuve by a step. This is Scott Moore, the right fielder. 1-0 pitch. 1 ball and 1 strike. Moore is hitting .241. 8 home runs, and he has driven in 23. Jeff Luhnow, the general manager of the Astros, has gutted this franchise. Essentially, they're starting over. This is well hit right center. Jay looks up, and it's a 1-hop over the wall and a ground rule double. So 1-out double against Kyle Loesch here in the first, and in steps Brett Wallace.
That ball was well hit and well placed in the gap, but John Jay did not get his normal good jump on that ball. I'm not sure he saw it off the bat very well. Went down to get it. Scott Moore and drove it, and by this time it's too late for John Jay to come up with it. Not saying he should have caught the ball to begin with, but he definitely did not see that ball off the bat very well.
Inside to Brett Wallace. Really has changed his body from when we first saw him up here in the booth. He was introduced as a high draft choice of the St. Louis Cardinals out of Arizona State. Only 7 home runs, 18 RBIs. Touted as a hitting machine. But if you're going to play third base, which he did at that time, or first, which he is at now, you see what Wallace's resume consists of, and started here in St. Louis, 2008. Got to be able to hit for power, and he has not done that. This pitch is in on his hands and popped up. Freeze calling for it. He's got it for the out. Here is their center fielder, Justin Maxwell. He's hitting .240, 16 home runs, and he has driven in 48.
Their hottest hitter right now, 10-game hitting streak, former Yankee, 28 years of age. He's not a kid. He's been around, but he's getting a chance to play here in Houston. Finds himself in the cleanup spot, and he's homered in 2 out of his last 3 games. So careful with him.
That pitch is taken low and outside. So here's a look at that second wild card spot. With the win on Sunday, the Cardinals are a game in front of LA. Milwaukee, Pittsburgh, and Philly all in the hunt. About 2 weeks to go here in this regular season. Some believe that that second wild card, to an extent, has turned out to be teams of mediocrity this year.
But they've created excitement in a lot of cities. Probably a dozen or so cities have had a sense that maybe the wild card, the second wild card, is within grasp. You could talk about the Arizona Diamondbacks even being on that list. 5 or 6 teams in the American League, including the Angels.
2. Well, Doug Melvin was asked about it, Milwaukee GM, and initially he said, I am not for this. I don't think it's good for the game. I don't think we should do it. And then he was asked last week about it, and he said, I really like this. He was making fun of himself, too.
Right.
He said, now that we're in it, I really like it. Here's a 1-2 pitch. Right down the middle, a strikeout. The first of the night for Kyle Loesch. Astros strand a runner. Cardinals coming up in the home half of the first. Carlos Beltran and Matt Holliday here in the first, followed by Craig Molina and Freeze, Descalso, Cosma, and the pitcher Kyle Loesch. The lefty Abad, we have seen him work out of the bullpen. He's now part of the rotation. Fernando Abad from the Dominican. His numbers brought to you by Enterprise Bank and Trust.
1-9 career record for Abad. He's made 4 other major league starts without a victory. In his starts, ERA over 5. In fact, his record against the Cardinals isn't very good. So they do not expect him to go more than 4 or 5 innings. The Astros are, in a way, adopting what the Colorado Rockies have done, and they're not going to let their starters go more than 4 or 5 innings unless they're absolutely dominating the other team.
Look at the numbers here for John Jay. 306 average. Was hitless until his final at bat on Sunday, and it was a big one. On an 0-2 pitch, he would double down the right field line. The game-winning hit. Cardinals would tack on 2 more and a big 5-2 win. And Jay leans into the pitch and he's hit. We have become accustomed to seeing that. Take a look at the defense behind Abad with Martinez, Maxwell, and Moore. Dominguez and Lowry on the left side, Altuve and Moore on the right side. And it's Castro behind the plate.
14th time that John Jay has been hit by a pitch. The Astros, Dan, collectively, as we look at their defense, 14th in the National League, but they are 15th pitching and dead last in hitting. So this is a club that has struggled, and they are at 99 losses, and they have been absolutely abysmal on the road.
40 games out at the start of play tonight. Short lead at first, and a strike to Carlos Beltran. 1 ball and 1 strike, and some have referred to Carlos Beltran as the modern day Roberto Clemente. When you talk to folks that are living in Puerto Rico currently or come here to the States for baseball, his impact has been huge with his baseball academy as Jay stays put. That academy, 50,000 square foot facility. It's state of the art, and I was talking with Jose Oquendo the other day about it. The land was donated by the local government, and Jose said you're looking at a facility that basically has been put up with almost all of Beltran's money. Really has made an impact. It's baseball, but also a high school for nearly 200 kids. He said the goal, number 1, is to have them get an education, but then also a chance to go to college here in the States. And everything is taught in English, so the kids learn all about that as well. Here's a 2-1 pitch. 2-2 the count. We saw over the weekend that Beltran is starting to come alive a little bit. Drew a couple of walks and driving the baseball. 1 home run shy of 30.
6 for his last 10. The at-bat's not quite as tentative as we saw 2 or 3 weeks ago, Dan, where he was really struggling, kind of was waving at some pitches, but now I think he's attacking the baseball a little better, moving better in the outfield.
Was held out of 1 game over the weekend with a sore back. He's been dealing with sore knees essentially all season long. The 2-2 ripped down the left field line, but pulled foul. Numbers you spoke of the last 3 games. See if they want to start Jay on 2-2. He's not running, and it's foul again out in front. Ricky talked about how Beltran has been swinging the bat a little bit better, and it has to be part of it. He said his hand is feeling a little better, but also his base.
Yeah. Well, if your base isn't good and your hand, which for a hitter, I mean, how can you be 100% if your hand hurts? I mean, you just can't. And he was in some pain there and tried to have a couple of different remedies to make it right. Waves at that off-speed pitch, and that's the changeup of Abad. Did not recognize that it was a changeup. Read fastball, and this is what happens when you read fastball. You swing at a fastball. The problem is it's a changeup.
Here's Matt Holliday. We come from Los Angeles, and it was scorching hot over the weekend. Triple digits. And come back home to St. Louis, and we're in the mid-60s right now. Beautiful night for baseball.
Abad has not really shown a great move to first base, but we've seen it about 5 times already. So the more he shows it, the more comfortable John Jay should be getting, recognizing when he goes home. In fact, he didn't stop at all right there, and that should have been a balk.
New look in the outfield. Notice how deep the outfielders were playing, but they have the STL cut into the grass as well as the arch. You and I have a chance to do a lot of the speaking engagements concerning the Cardinals, and a Q&A session. Always one of the most commonly asked questions, for whatever reason, is stubby clap, bow hard,
and the arch.
And the arch in the grass.
That's right.
Always. You can count on it. Fans love it.
And you might get the trifecta. Can you get stubby clap, bow hard to come over to my yard and mow an arch into my yard?
So that's what they're up to now.
That's what they're.
You know, Stubby is actually managing in the Houston organization.
And Bo Hart is doing broadcasting for the Cardinals AAA affiliate.
Is that right? We better be watching out then.
Everybody loves Bo.
Oh, yeah. Here's a 1-1 pitch. Jay is leaning, and now time is called. Bod was used primarily as a situational lefty. You see the multi-hit games this season for Holliday at 51. So situational lefty, moved into the rotation in the minor leagues, and that's what he's doing here. And Fernando is treating this first inning as if the game's on the line in the 8th.
You bet. Well, if he's only going 4, this is his 5th. He's already late in the game.
Pitch number 15 of the first inning is an off-speed pitch. 2-2. Follow up your thoughts about these guys kind of piggybacking each other and not going deep into games. Houston essentially has made this like an open tryout. They want to see what they've got.
And they found, and not surprisingly so, that they're young pitchers and they're inexperienced pitchers. They're not exactly the same thing. You can be inexperienced and be a 30-year-old guy that's just made it to the big leagues. But without a lot of experience, the third time through the lineup for Tony DeFrancesco, the manager, he has seen that the production goes way down third time through a lineup. So they're not going to let him go through it the third time.
Little bit low, and it's 3-2.
I think that's part of what the Rockies are doing with their piggyback system, is limiting the pitch count, number one, but also limiting the damage.
And Rick, the bullpen has tossed scoreless relief in 8 of the 15 games this month, and in those games are 7-1. So the bullpen has been a positive for them. Let's see if they want to run on 3-2 here with John Jay, the runner at first base.
Well, if he throws over one more time, I think you have to run just because you're tired of him throwing over there.
Outfield very deep.
Lead's gotten bigger for John Jay.
There he goes, and it's fouled back.
Left-handers
did make 3 starts in the minor leagues before jumping back into the major leagues.
Clearly overmatched a little bit at this level, but again, they're just trying anything they can. wanted to comment on Jay's lead. There are times where runners will do something a little bit different. He had his hands on his knees the last time. Now he's just resting them low.
And that's a double play. Holliday strikes out. Jay is caught stealing. Scoreless after 1. Shane Company picture frame giveaway. The Nationals will be in town. First 25,000 fans 16 or older take home the Shane Company picture frame and get your tickets at Cardinals.com. A brief 3-game homestand for the Cardinals that includes a day game on Thursday, and then we're back out on the road.
Already?
Already. Back out on the road. Here's Jed Lowrie. For a guy like Jed Lowrie, who is now batting 5th in this lineup, 14 home runs, 38 RBIs, and he's been around for a while. How tough is it, Rick, even though you are playing Major League Baseball, which should be enough to get you geared up and excited to play, and crowds that are not in the minor leagues, big league stadium, big league hotels, and travel. How tough, though, is it when you're 40 games out to come in September and try to get yourself ready to play?
It should be easy, but there's a human factor involved in it. If you're Jed Lowrie or any player at this level, you still, part of you is geared to win. They're all competitors. Everybody here is a competitor. So you know you're going to go to the ballpark overmatched. And so, yes, you're excited because you're playing big league baseball, but nobody likes getting their brains beat in either every night. And so the frustration builds, and you kind of just at times just mentally check out, and it's tough, especially guys that have kind of been around and they've seen winning teams and they've been on winning teams before. They know the difference.
Lowrie flies to center. First out here in the top of the second, and it brings in Martinez with Castro to follow.
I got traded from the White Sox on August 31st, and we were in last place, about a million games out of first place. We were terrible, and I got traded to a first place team, and the smile on my face lasted a very long time.
Come to the ballpark, you think you might have a chance to win. Just the energy that is around winning teams this late in the season, that be such a tough part of the year. Here's the 0-1 pitch as they set up inside. Jammed him. Craig comes up just short. 0-2.
I think you could say, and many would say, that you get the impression that players play for money, and they certainly get a lot of that. There's no question about that. But they play because they love it, they play to win, and they play because they like the money. I mean, all three of them. Now, what order? That's a good question. Depends on the individual.
Here's the 0-2. Saw Jed Lowrie, and that means that Tyler Green is not in the lineup tonight. His return to St. Louis. Green has had some pop. Martinez waves at it. Strikeout number 2 for Loesch. Two away, and it brings in Castro. Back it up, and here it comes.
Slider, side spin on it, down and away. Martinez did not read that very well. Martinez actually had been the cleanup hitter in the early part of the year for the Astros, and he was so bad at one point they had to send him back to AAA.
One thing they've done, they've really taken a chance on former first-round picks that had been in a rut, hit a wall, so to speak, with other organizations, and taking a chance on them, seeing if they catch lightning in a bottle with some of them. Here's the 0-1 pitch. Tyler Green would be in that category to an extent.
Well, I think that makes sense when you're the Astros at this point. You're trying to build and trying to find a player that just hasn't figured it out yet, but you know has the skills to maybe do so. And at least somebody at one point said, hey, that's a first-round guy. We need to get him.
Here's the 0-2. Got him. Called, third strike. Second time that Loesch has done that. And his third strikeout tonight. The game presented by Toyota. Look at his numbers. The first 30 appearances, by the way, in relief, and now working out of their rotation.
Yeah, there's a difference between somebody being turned into a starter or somebody just getting a chance to start, and I think that's what we're getting with Abad. It's not as if they have some illusion about him becoming Cole Hamels from the left side in this rotation, but I just think they're looking for anybody right now that can give him innings. They traded away a lot of their players. They traded away Wandy Rodriguez to Pittsburgh, and they don't really have 5 top-notch starters right now, so they're just looking at anybody to do that job.
Jay Happ, another one that comes to mind. There's a fastball and a strike to Alan Craig. He'll lead it off, followed by Molina and Freeze. Phillies and Mets postponed due to rain. Same with Toronto and the Yankees. LA and Washington will play a doubleheader tomorrow. That really could factor into what happens with the wild card race.
Yeah, I don't think you want doubleheaders at the end of the season if you're playing for a wild card spot. Number one, it's hard to win a doubleheader, but that also messes up your pitching.
Craig grounds out, 1 away. In steps Yadier Molina. MVP type numbers for Molina with the average 320, 19 homers, driven in 67. What he means defensively to this team. We saw that with Don Mattingly's club, really testing Molina more so than other teams that we've noticed.
And that's partly because they've had such a hard time scoring runs in Los Angeles. Mattingly's kind of forced to just have guys run, but he's got some speedsters, no question about it. He has Victorino and D. Gordon now in his lineup, and they did test Molina. But you're always testing the catcher and the pitcher. It's always a dual test.
We saw Charlie Manuel, manager of the Phillies. He was asked about Ruiz, who's had a great year. Compared him to Yadier Molina. And Charlie felt that Molina last year was the most improved hitter in the National League. He said, bar none. And he said, you're seeing a guy that's driving the ball a little bit more, but also, he said, really using the entire field. He said he's always been a guy that could hit behind a runner, but as far as pulling the ball in the gaps and hitting for more power, he said he really improved that aspect of his game.
Yeah, I think he went from being an average hitter to being a good hitter, a really good hitter a year ago. Now he's even better than that.
Rolling down the left field line, it stays fair, and Yadi on his way to second base, and it gets away. Molina on his way to third. Standing up. Misplayed by J.D. Martinez, and Yadi winds up at third base.
And Yadi all smiles, somebody making fun of him, I think, because he went home to third. Got a couple of guesses who that could be. Ball wasn't hit that hard, but it was well placed. A hanging breaking ball, still not a good pitch. A lot of times a hanging pitch gets hit. Even if it doesn't get hard, it still finds a hole somewhere and right down the line.
So the infield is drawn in. Here's David Freese. David telling me the other day that really looking forward to tonight. Special night for he and his family. Mother Lynn Freese is here, and the band Greek Fire, their drummer Johnny Venus, throughout the first pitch. He's very good friends with him, and he suffers from leukemia. David Freese teamed up with the Cardinals to make this his special night. There's Martinez in the misplay out and left. Big portion of the proceeds of the tickets sold tonight going to Johnny and his recovery. There's a nice block by the catcher tonight, Jason Castro.
Castro's really struggled behind the plate. He's a guy that was kind of billed as a future star for this team that was supposed to be a great receiver, a great handler of pitchers, and they worried about whether or not he could hit or not. It's actually been a bit the other direction. His hitting has been okay, but he has really struggled blocking balls and calling games for the Astros.
Here's a 1-2 pitch. Inside to Freese, 2-2. Cardinals have some really good folks down in that dugout. David Freese and Molina give up their time. Matt Holliday, the Clemente Award. We know about Skip Schumacher. 2-2. Tomorrow, Cardinals Care will hand out nearly $200,000 to 66 different children's charities here in town. It's another 2-2 pitch. Freese fights it off. It's popped up to the right side. Altuve makes the catch, and Molina is back to third.
missed opportunity there for David Freese. Abad was just trying to pound him in to try to get him to pop the ball up, and that's exactly what happened.
Still have not put up whether or not it was an error on the left fielder Martinez. I would have to think it's a double in E7.
I would say.
Strike one on Descalso. Daniel at second base tonight. Cosma at short. Hitting .220 this year. Descalso, right center. That'll get down. It's a base hit. A 2-out RBI for Daniel Descalso. And it's 1-0 St. Louis as he picks up Freeze. Molina comes in to score. The Cardinals did that a lot over the weekend. 2-out RBI base hits.
And David Freese feels a lot better with Descalso picking him up, and he's all smiles too. Daniel been one for his last 16. Another hanging breaking pitch. He is just really struggling with his breaking ball. So Yachty can just walk home.
Eighth place hitter Pete Cosma. Pete has handled the bat just fine at .308. No home runs and a pair of RBIs. I would say that anything you get from Pete Cosma offensively is a bonus. You would love to see him give you solid defense. Doesn't have to be exceptional, but just solid.
It's what the Cardinals need right now more than the offense from their shortstop position.
You would have to think that that's something that John Mozeliak is looking very hard at. Defense up the middle when you think about next season. Whether that be at second base, shortstop, if not both. You've got it in Jay up the middle at center, and certainly with Yadier Molina. But they need to shore up this defense. And signature point of many championship teams, pitching, then the defense. And the defense has got to get better.
And a signature point about the Cardinals in general over the years. Always been very good defensively year after year. Ozzie Smith, think of Kenny Reitz and Ken Obergfell, and I mean Willie McGee, Red Schoendienst. I don't know where to stop. Keith Hernandez, outstanding defensive players, and it was really kind of a expectation that the Cardinals would be a better defender than the other team. And I think it struck us, Dan, in Los Angeles when we realized that watching the Dodgers play, that's a better defensive team than we have.
We talked so much about beginning of the year, the loss of Pujols and what he would mean to this team in the middle of the lineup. Think about his range at first base and how good he was defensively. And that's kind of lost in what he brought offensively, for good reason. A terrific defensive player, though.
No question. Range is the thing that we might overlook when you think about defense. Rafael Furcal has a lot of it, a lot of range. Think about him going deep in the hole with the strong arm and then up the middle.
It's Jackson there on the right, middle infielder. 2-strike pitch is fouled back. Cardinals really miss Rafael Furcal, and he's a spark plug inside that clubhouse. The excitement he brings at the top of the lineup when healthy. Switch hitter.
It's the other thing you like about being at home in September. You're going to see some of the players that are injured here at the ballpark, and good to see Furcal here. They often don't travel when they're hurt.
Outside, 3-2.
More complaints from Chris Maloney that Abad is not stopping. what he's trying to do is vary his times to help his catcher out. He's doing that well, in fact.
Runner goes, and the 3-2 pitch is pulled foul. Crowd still filing in on a chilly night here in St. Louis. On the air tomorrow at 6:30, Lance Lynn back in the rotation. He'll face Lucas Harrell. Harrell is 10-9. This is popped up. The shallow center, who wants it? The center fielder takes charge. That's Maxwell, and he makes the catch. Descalso, the 2-out RBI base hit. #24th. If you'd like to find out more, go to stlouisrams.com. Daniel Descalso has given the Cardinals a 1-run lead. Matt Dominguez, first plate appearance of the night, and he takes a fastball on a strike. Right-hander Jake Westbrook will throw a bullpen on Wednesday at Busch Stadium. Hopes to be available to pitch possibly this time next week. We know the Cardinals are getting healthier with the return of Chris Carpenter. Met with the media today. The 0-2 taken a bit low.
Had his normal bullpen session today after a number of simulated game situations, and the normal bullpen, guess the last step before that first start.
Here's a 1-2 pitch. Dominguez hits it out of play. That first start officially will be Friday afternoon at Wrigley Field. He's jumping out of his skin to get back on the mound and make that start, and he has worked awfully hard to get to this point. Spoiled again by Dominguez.
I'm
Milwaukee,
sure
by the way, with a 2-0 lead in the bottom of the 6th over Pittsburgh.
There were some moments in his rehab where I'm sure he had questions about whether or not he'd ever get to pitch again.
How can he not?
Very real questions, you bet.
That ball will get down into the corner. It goes. Dominguez stops at second base, and it's a leadoff double. So Carpenter returns, and he will pitch Friday afternoon. You'll see that game, Fox Sports Midwest, the final out of the division series. The emotion from Chris Carpenter, the famous sight right there. How about you? I get goosebumps.
Oh, yeah.
Still watching that.
What a game that was. Wow.
Matched up with Roy Halladay, his buddy from Toronto. What a jolt to this franchise and to this team that Carpenter will give you come Friday, good or bad.
And big moments ahead in September and October baseball. And you'd like to see the Cardinals part of that again.
I'm sure Abad has not been asked at the major league level to do this very often because being a situational lefty, you don't come up, you don't hit.
Bunting was certainly a bit of a mystery for the Cardinals on this last road trip.
Here's the 0-1 pitch. The corners are charging in. Swinging away. 0-2. John Mozeliak was asked about Chris Carpenter. What do you think we can reasonably expect from Carpenter? And he said, well, I can only go on the fact that it was 100+ degrees and he had 95 pitches in his last simulated game and looked very good. And he said, I know it's simulated, but those kind of conditions, he's kept himself in great condition. We expect to see typical Chris Carpenter.
95 pitches took place in a little bit less than an hour, about a 50-minute period. And I would say there's going to be a difference in terms of the lapse of time for a pitcher to go out there to warm up and then 2 hours later still be in the game making your 95th pitch.
It's sharply to Freeze. He thought about going to second. The quick hands, he makes that play.
My point being, Dan, there's something about the passage of time, too, that is a factor for a pitcher in terms of their durability. You're going to pitch, you're going to sit down, and they weren't sitting him down for 20 minutes. They were sitting him down for a couple.
Sure. And just think about the emotions for Chris Carpenter, who has told us that every time he even just picks up a baseball, he treats it as if it could be the last time I ever played catch.
And no matter what he does, I can promise you, you're going to get an A effort.
Oh, yeah.
So results notwithstanding, you will get an A effort.
Jose Altuve. First time up, he grounded out to third.
Cardinals have had a hard time getting him out since he's come to the big leagues. 391 against the Cardinals.
Outfield very shallow. 2 balls and no strikes.
Shallow in the outfield, especially center field. John Jay.
Change up that time, 2-1.
6 outfield assists for Holliday, 1 for Jay, and 10 for Carlos Beltran.
Two and two. What's interesting here, Rick, is that Pete Kozma played second base most of the year at AAA. He starts at shortstop again tonight. Ryan Jackson played most of the year at short at Memphis. And yet Kozma plays in all but one of the Cardinals games on the West Coast trip. These interchangeable parts right now. As Molina pushes Altuve out of the way.
And then says he's sorry. All good natured. But I think you're right. It is odd. You know, Jackson is maybe a guy that has a little more upside on the defensive side. At least that's what the Cardinal folks think now. But Kozma getting the start. We've seen Descalso head short some.
Now the 3-2. Altuve hits it sharply to third. Freeze looks back the runner and again makes the play.
Play before, David Freese made a play on Fernando Abad, and the infielders were all moving, including Pete Kozma getting the start at shortstop. Freese moving in, protecting against the bunt, so Kozma's role is to cover third base. The wheel play is on. That's why Abad's swinging the bat. So once the ground ball is to David Freese, Kozma has to cover third. Maybe a shot at second base with the runner there, but David Freese got the sure out. And he really has been fielding very well at third base of late. David, especially on that ball coming in.
There's Scott Moore, double back in the first, and left stranded. Tying run at second base and Matt Dominguez. 1-0 pitch by Loesch. 1 ball, 1 strike. One thing you love about Kyle Loesch, works fairly quickly. Keeps his fielders on their toes. He's around the strike zone.
Economical with his pitches. Doesn't go into deep counts.
Here's a 1-1.
Think about Whitey Herzog always used to say, hey, if you're going to be bad, do it quickly. He had his Whitey Herzog Foundation golf tournament yesterday. They honored the 82 world champions. A number of players were there on hand of Sunday night dinner and golf all day Saturday. Whitey helps build baseball fields in the community, and such a big part of our Cardinal history, isn't he?
You bet. Was Willie there?
Willie was there.
Good.
Ozzie. Tommy Herr.
Tommy was in, huh?
Yes, he was.
Here's a 3-1. Three-two is hit out of play. I know you got to take a chance to take a picture with Whitey, and I'm sure he was very gracious and wants to do those kind of things with the community.
He also was putting for everybody on the 16th green, and he made the putt for us before we even got down to the green. Said, nice job. He made our birdie for us.
Well done.
He could putt. And if he missed it, he would have tried it again and said, it's my tournament.
Scoot you on through.
I'm going to putt till I make it.
You bet.
Not a bad location there. Just missed that inside corner. Glosh wanted that.
Runners at first and second. Here's Brett Wallace. When Brett began his major league career, we saw him just tear up St. Louis. Remember when he first saw the Cardinals? Great numbers. Playing in his 52nd major league game this year.
Dan, I just wanted to go back to Chris Carpenter one more time. We talked about him being the starter in game 1 from Chicago. It was amazing to learn in our pregame show tonight that he still has that piece of the rib that was taken out of him, and he has it in his medicine cabinet at home. And I'm not sure whether that's just a really neat thing or weird, or both.
Hit in the air to center field. Wallace flies to John Jay. Loesch will lead it off when we come back. Let me think about that, Rick. the new wireless receiver from AT&T Uverse. Visit att.com/freeyourtv. Rethink possible. MyKiaSt.Louis.com. And get the All-American Jack Combo at Jack in the Box. It's a no-nonsense burger with fries and a drink for only $4.99 plus tax at participating stores. The first pitch is a strike, and we're underway as Kyle Loesch will dig in to start the bottom of the third. Fernando Abad, the lefty for Houston. Here's the 0-2 as Loesch just got a piece. Mentioned it before. Loesch is a free agent to be, so every start for him very important. Think about his personal future, where he may wind up. The 0-2 puts it in play and lines it foul.
There'll be a lot of teams interested in Kyle Loesch because I think he's established that he is kind of over a hump in terms of how to pitch effectively. You look at his years as a Cardinal, the ones where he wasn't hurt. He was good all 3 of those years. The one where he was hurt, he had some rough patches, but he's really established himself as a 14-game winner plus. And there are a lot of teams could use one more of them. The question is, how many years will they go with him?
0-2 is popped up.
And that's always the player's concern at this point. Cardinals dealt with that with Jeff Suppan at one point. He was a player the Cardinals wanted to keep, but not for 4 years. Didn't think they could justify that long a contract, and Loesch will be looking for as many years as he can get. I can promise you that.
And a check swing. Did he go? Yes, he did. A strikeout for Abad, and that is his 3rd strikeout, first time through the lineup. Here at Busch Stadium and around Major League Baseball, we celebrate the life and legacy of Roberto Clemente. For the game, if you're just joining us, Matt Holliday is the nominee for the Clemente Award from the St. Louis Cardinals.
Think about the quote that we see in Pittsburgh that's on the way to the dugout, where it's a Clemente quote about how proud he was to be wearing a Major League Baseball uniform and how meaningful that was. A direct quote from Clemente, and Clint Hurdle and the Pirates management put that up there because they want their players to see that every day, that Clemente knew how important it was and how lucky he was to get to be a Major League Baseball player. And I just love that attitude. And you know, baseball players are humans, Dan. Sometimes they forget how lucky they are to be gifted in the way they have been gifted.
Here's a 1-1 pitch. Taken low and outside by Jay. 2 balls and 1 strike. A chance to visit with our good friend Adam Business today. And Adam was asking if John Jay would sign an autograph for him, and Adam was pitching in the minor league system for the Cardinals for a number of years. Brothers Alan, Andy, and Adam. Pretty talented trio.
Saw Adam yesterday at Whitey's golf tournament, in fact. Number of years pitched in the Cardinals system.
Strikeout, that's number 4.
Trying to get the signs from the catcher. It sure does help if he's got a little fingernail polish on.
Here's Carlos Beltran, switch hitter. Struck out his first time, and he picks up a base hit. The shift was on for Beltran. This is the second time we've seen that this year from this side of the plate. So many times you see it from the left side, but not so much from the right side, and he beats the shift. New low pricing for the final 2 weeks. MLB.tv. HD quality everywhere on your favorite devices.
There's the shift you're talking about. Second baseman Altuve is even moving over more, but he needed to be over about 7 more steps. Finds the hole anyway on the left side.
Here's Matt Holliday, struck out his first time up. Whitey will be at John Muni's charitable golf tournament. Focal Point group with the Bennis brothers. Next time you can see Whitey out and about. That's in early October. Focal Point does a lot of the work that you see around the ballpark to make sure it stays as pristine and beautiful as it is. Do a great job with the trees and the plants and the grass and all the things that make this a special place.
Well, the aesthetics matter.
You bet it does.
Fans come to the ballpark and they want a clean place. They want a beautiful place. That's why we get all the questions about the arch and the logo that are on the outfield grass. I mean, folks notice those little special items. Probably the dirtiest place in the ballpark is the Cardinals dugout. Everything else is beautiful. But we get our shots every once in a while, the Cardinals dugout, and there's a lot of cups on the ground, seeds. Tony La Russa used to pick it up all the time.
3-2.
There we go. They're started.
It just looks like baseball to me. Every dugout in America looks like that. On the outside corner, and he strikes out the side. Abad with 5 strikeouts this far. Across the way, Pat Paris standing by with a Bommarito Sports Update. Patrick. All right, Pat, thank you. And here is Justin Maxwell. And he hits it out of play. What do you think, Rick? Braun the MVP?
I'm okay with that choice. I think his numbers deserve it. I think the Brewers finishing strong is going to help him.
No question about that. I just wonder, though, about the lingering effect of last year and the botched sample, which many thought he was cheating, the PEDs, and if that's the case, there are going to be some writers that definitely hold that against him. But his numbers, if you go strictly on numbers and what the team is doing right now, he's got to be right there.
Well, there's been a kind of unofficial straw poll of many of the writers who will vote, and the question was asked to them, would you hold it against him? And there is one writer that said he absolutely would, and everybody else said they didn't think they would. But who knows what's going to happen when you actually go and cast your ballot.
2-2 pitch. Just missed.
And like most awards in baseball, the last 15 games are going to have a bearing on it.
And that's a leadoff walk. Second walk that's issued by Loesch. Busch Stadium in St. Louis. Dan and Rick with you. Al still on vacation. And the Cardinals have a 1-run lead. Daniel Descalso, a 2-out RBI base hit. Here is Jed Lowrie.
Unusual 2 walks already for Kyle Loesch. I think it's been a good strike zone. Fieldon Culbreth is the crew chief of these umpires here for this series. He's behind the plate. I believe the strike zone has been fair so far.
Yeah, I agree. Here's a 1-0 pitch. Runner goes. Swung on and missed. Goodbye. Not even close. They tried the hit and run. You don't put it in play, it's all but a done deal. He'll gun you out.
The only thing in question is to get the tag down. Ball there in plenty of time. Looking in, shows it was a hit and run. Batter doesn't do his job.
Would you think, Rick, if Houston does get runners on, that's something that they have to do to generate some type of offense?
Well, we've seen what happens when the Cardinals don't hit well. What is the first thing that we say? Well, we got to get somebody moving, generate something, try something. And so if you are Tony DeFrancesco, what else are you going to do? You sit around and wait for the 3-run home run, you're going to be waiting a long time.
1-2 pitch, change up. Hit to the right side. Craig to Loesch. And there's 2 outs. The changeup, and that's what you can do with it.
Perfect location, too. It's down and away, and it's just sinking. And the only way you hit that is to take it the other way. But once you commit your body and your hands start to go, all you end up doing is rolling over the top of it.
Now it's J.D. Martinez. This is the first of 9 games in a row with either Houston or Chicago.
Dan, I want to let everybody know there's going to be a race on Sunday called the Rock Star 5K. It's going to be at Forest Park, and the run helps to benefit ovarian cancer research. Familiesrock.com to get the info. Mike Jorgensen, dear friend, has great meaning to him, so please support the run for ovarian cancer. 1-0 St. Louis.
postseason on Fox and TBS. The excitement begins October 5th with the wild card on TBS. It's Adam Craig, Yadier Molina, and David Freeze. Rick, they have just ruled on the Molina play back in the second, so it is a double and then ruled an error.
They've either just ruled on it or just put the error up on the board, one of the two.
Playoff implications in this ball game here. Detroit with a big game, and Max Scherzer, the St. Louisan, is on the mound. He's leading the league, 220 strikeouts. Pitched at Missouri and Parkway Central. Had to leave after 2 innings with shoulder fatigue. That could be a huge loss for Jim Leyland's club.
Tigers have been a little bit like the Cardinals. If you look at their numbers and you follow that team, you'd say, I would think they would have won more.
Lowrie puts it away. I thought coming out of spring training, we saw Detroit a couple of times. To me, they were the team to beat coming out of the American League.
They've struggled in extra inning games. They've struggled in one-run games. They've had games where they've hit a lot, and then they've kind of all gone in the tank at the same time. And so, I say very much like the Cardinals in terms of expectations. And they've got a couple pretty good starting pitchers. They've got the best in Verlander, but the rest of the staff is also pretty solid.
Fly ball that's hit down the right field line off the bat of Molina. And the catch is made. Nice play in right field by Scott Moore. 2 down. Just looking at that lineup, you've got Cabrera, who's got nearly 40 home runs. The addition of Prince Fielder, and you thought that could be the best 1-2 punch in all of baseball. But you need more than that, is what you're saying. You've got to be able to catch the ball. They have not done that. And you've got to have consistent pitching.
And speaking of needing more than that, 1 run on 3 hits against Fernando Abad batting in the 4th inning. You need more than that.
Here's David Freeze with 2 outs and gets underneath it. Flings his bat in the air, into shallow left it goes. Martinez is there in a quick inning for Abad. It's Castro, Dominguez, and Abad due up. 1-0 St. Louis. Nothing over the Houston Astros here at Busch Stadium, and let's flash back. And this was his 2nd start with St. Louis, and Kyle Loesch, April of 2009, would go the distance as Lance Berkman would fly out. Colby Erasmus with the catch. Loesch had a win. And tonight, 61 pitches, 4 innings, 2 hits, pair of walks. That has not hurt him, and he's struck out 3. Here is Castro. No balls in 1 strike. Castro was called out on strikes his first time up. We saw Lance Berkman, obviously big connections to both these franchises. And the latest is that Berkman has talked about going back to Rice, where he was the player of the year coming out of college, continuing with a degree, and becoming a grad assistant and coaching on the Owls team. That's some kind of knowledge to have as part of your college team. Too bad he doesn't have any eligibility.
Well, he's certainly qualified to do that job, and then the question would be, is that really what he wants to make his next career? There was a time when Mike Matheny was being told by anybody in a baseball executive suit, hey, you need to be a manager. You need to be a manager. And he heard that for about 3 or 4 years and finally decided it was time. Sounds like Lance Berkman's thinking that staying in the game of baseball might be his next road that he goes down.
And we don't know this for sure, but just seeing how the year has gone and with the injuries that he's had on his body, he's not getting any younger, that this would be it. Again, there's no official word on that. And who knows? Next road trip, we may get that, as Berkman lives in the Houston area. Fans there still follow what he's done and what he's doing. You never know. Maybe you would make an announcement to say that this is it, so he could be properly recognized while still in uniform as a player. Here's Matt Dominguez.
However he decides to do his exit, he's going to be thought of as one of the top switch hitters in the history of this game.
Numbers show that. One of the great moments ever was Lance Berkman. Game 6, World Series. This is foul territory, and speaking of Game 6, there's Freeze to put it away. Dominguez is 1 for 2. And Abad is still in this ball game. Looking ahead to the bottom of the inning, we'll deal with 7, 8, and 9, so that might be part of the thinking, along with what's happening down there in that Astros dugout.
Yeah, and there's 2 outs, nobody on, which I think probably has something to do with it as well. But per the way they've been handling their bullpen, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody is up along with him as he goes back out for the next inning.
Rick, I'm not saying that he would have had the same going out as Chipper Jones has had, where every city has recognized him, but I think certain cities would have. I think St. Louis would be one if Berkman had announced his retirement as an opposing player coming in, Lance Berkman. Houston, obviously. Maybe some of the teams in the Central that he saw for all those years.
I can think of, if I had to make a list, I could make a list of 20 former teammates of mine and players that would have loved the farewell tour thing, and I could make a list of 20 guys who wouldn't have. Who said, look, I don't want to be a sideshow in every city we go. I would be embarrassed about that. That's not me. And I'm not saying one's right and one's wrong, but players have different ways of stepping away from the game.
2 strikeouts in the inning and 5 tonight. Descalso as the lone RBI. We'll see him hit next. Hall of Fame, Bob Costas, Jim Edmonds, and others. And that's the St. Louis Sports Hall of Fame. November 14th. We play here in the bottom of the 5th, and the Cardinals lead by the score of 1-0. Total of 5 hits in this game. It'll be Descalso, Kozma, and Loesch. The enshrinement dinner, by the way, is presented by Cardinal Glennon Children's Hospital. St. Louis Sports Hall of Fame.com. Daniel is 1 for 1. Here's the 0-1 pitch. Foul tip. And it's no balls and 2 strikes.
Cedeno, the left-hander, throwing in the Astros bullpen. They have 2 left-handers in their bullpen and 8 right-handers. We've seen a lot of that, haven't we, in September?
We have, and the Cardinals, we showed you too, the numbers have been pretty good this year against left-handed pitching. Much better as opposed to years past. You could put a bunch of years in a row on that. Cardinals historically bad against lefties. Descalso, a little floater, and the catch is made by Jed Lowrie. Speaking of Jim Edmonds and Houston, who could forget this play? One of the great plays in postseason history. Edmonds diving for it and making a remarkable catch. That was off the bat of Brad Ausmus. That Game 7, Clemens, Suppan matched up. Remember Game 6, Edmonds got us to Game 7 with his walk-off homer.
Watching that replay, never get tired of it. Just love watching good defensive play, and really see one more time on that replay the good jump that he got on that ball, the perfect route that he made, and the fact that when he dove to catch it, his other hand came up to be there just in case the ball was going to pop out of his glove. I mean, he's just laid out, but he's still able to get 2 hands over top of that ball. Just an amazing athlete, Jim Edmonds.
Here is Pete Kozma, 0-2 with 1 out, nobody on. Rick, we're asked a lot about run differential, extra inning games, and 1-run games, and why the Cardinals have not had success in that area this year. And a lot of it you can point to probably defense, because the offense has been so good, but defensively at times it's let Mike Matheny's club down.
Yeah, defense is always one of those reasons on close games. You also have to point to the bullpen anytime you see late inning losses and wonder, why are we losing in late situations. But I think a third factor in that, we'll throw a third factor into that, is fundamentals. The Cardinals have not been very good at moving runners from second to third. Bunting okay, getting runners in from third okay, but if David Freese
has a line drive into right center field, and Kozma can run. He's on his way to second. Will he try to extend this? You bet he will. On his way to third, and in there safely with a triple.
I started to say before Pete Kozma rudely interrupted me with a triple that David Freese was picked up by Daniel Descalso with a man on third base and 1 out. Now the Cardinals find themselves in that situation again as Kozma, who has gap power, not extraordinary power, but decent power, especially for a middle infielder, plugs the gap, and he's done a very nice job filling in for Call.
Also showed his speed with that triple, and that may be it for Abad. Saw the infield drawn in back in the second inning. Now with a 1-run lead and the pitcher up. A lot of options here for Mike Matheny. Abad at 75 pitches. Looks like they'll keep him in. And the question right now, you think about, Rick, is that with a guy that can handle the bat in this spot, lots of hitting lanes opened up. You got to figure the corners are in. Maybe the infield is in. completely. Do they let him swing away, or at least show it that maybe Butcher Boy?
Well, I like the fact that with the infield in, the hitter who's clearly not a 300 hitter in Kyle Loesch, but you get a lot better with the infield in. Your average goes up. Can't tell you the exact number, but I know you're a better hitter. A lot more lanes, as you say. He is very good with the bunts, though. 11 sacrifices on the year for Loesch.
Chops it fair. Somehow that stayed fair. Over the third baseman, off the sidewall, and Loesch helps his cause. It's 2-0 St. Louis. The high chopper, and it got over the outstretched glove of Matt Dominguez.
That's a hitter having a higher average with the infield in. All he does is hit that ball into the turf, and down the line, the third baseman is back. Maybe he can keep that ball in the infield at least. Kyle Loesch helps himself.
His third RBI this year. And here is John Jay. Pitch count is near 80. And they've had a lefty getting loose and now a right-hander. And Jay lines it into left center field. That ball is down. Loesch will score. And Jay is thinking too on his way to second, in there safely. Slipping on the play was Martinez out and left. And it's a 3-run lead for St. Louis.
Jay comes through again. The left-hander Abad is left in. Third time through the lineup. Martinez struggling again in left field. There's Kyle Loesch. So 3 straight hits for St. Louis, 2 more runs, and now the lead a bit more comfortable.
They still have not gone to their bullpen. Here's Beltran, who is 1 for 2. Cardinals with 6 base hits, 3 consecutive. Beltran 1 for 2, and he looks at a strike. Catcher Castro may have been crossed up. This season with runners in scoring position, Beltran a .278 hitter, 8 home runs, and he's driven in 61. And tonight, a different story than what we saw in the West Coast swing. 3 for 4 with runners in scoring position. They're in the bottom of the 7th. Milwaukee on top of Pittsburgh 4-0. Outfield very, very deep. 1 ball, 1 strike on Beltran. Good speed at second base in John Jay. If Pittsburgh would lose tonight, 1 game away from being at 500. Beltran hits it down the right field line. It's slicing foul. And Rick, now it's talked about so much with Pittsburgh. You wonder if it's a mental thing for the players, because you know, playoffs now, they're almost going Jim Morris style playoffs. They're not thinking playoffs. They're thinking, let's get to 500.
Yeah, they're talking about practice.
We're not quite at Allen Iverson yet.
Yeah, I had mixed interviews there. I saw what I was doing there, but very frustrating for the Pirates to be living that history that, you know, they didn't cause all that, current players.
Jay running, and the Cardinals have run into a double play for the 2nd time tonight with John Jay. 2nd time he's caught stealing. Cardinals, though, add to their lead. 3-0 St. Louis. for Houston, the second wild card. Cardinals leading LA by a game. They were rained out. Doubleheader with Washington upcoming. Milwaukee leading Pittsburgh. Those two teams at 2.5 out. The Phillies 3.5. Here's Altuve. If the Phillies do not get back in the race, Cardinals can thank Houston for that. They played very well against them.
And they have the last few years. It's not really an odd thing for the Astros to play the Phillies well. And no one really has a good idea why that is. Phillies have had good pitching the last few years, but the Astros just, for some reason, play them well. And you know, the Cardinals headed to Chicago, and that's not a place the Cardinals typically play well.
1-1 is a fly ball out to right, backing up Beltran and makes the catch on the run. Folks having fun tonight in Big Mac Land. Don't forget that McDonald's is offering $1 off discounts on McCafe products at all St. Louis McDonald's restaurants. That's from 2 to 5 every day. Smoothies and iced drinks and shakes, all at McDonald's. Be curious to find out John Jay running on that last situation, Rick, with Beltran up. Even if he strikes out, which he did, he got Holliday coming up.
I'm still working on it.
There's Scott Moore, who has walked and doubled, and Loesch slipped. Medical team is out, along with Mike Matheny.
On his landing leg, he just never really got any footing at all, and almost turned his ankle a bit. Came down on the side of his foot, and then everything else just gave way after that. Says he's fine. Everybody believes him.
Loesch is putting together arguably his best season ever, and stands at 14-3 with a very good ERA. Depending how many starts he gets from here on out, he just might put himself in the conversation for Cy Young Award. Would you agree?
Yeah, no question about it.
If he isn't already in that conversation. Now, we went through the top 5 that you had, and I think Gio Gonzalez at this point is a guy that you have to look at. Maybe the front runner at this point.
I would agree.
Clayton Kershaw is out. There's a fly ball out to left off the bat of Moore. Holliday puts it away for the out.
Well, Strasburg is out because he's shut down. Kershaw out because he's hurt. And there'll be a couple of other pitchers that will take themselves out because they don't pitch well the last few weeks.
The way that the schedule works out, Cardinals obviously will not face Strasburg, as you mentioned. He's out. Cardinals do face Washington. They have not been to St. Louis yet. By that time, the Reds should have the division wrapped up. And you wonder how those teams, if their situations are wrapped up, will they play it like Charlie Manuel did with the Phillies last year against Atlanta, which helped the Cardinals get in, or resting certain players? Gio Gonzalez and Johnny Cueto are two guys that be in that running for Cy Young Award. You wouldn't want to take a start away from them, you would think. 1 ball, 1 strike on Brett Wallace. Here's a 1-2. Ground ball. Shift was on from the outfield grass. Descalso makes the play. AT&T, the nation's largest 4G network. AT&T, everything possible. And by Ford, the official vehicles of the world champion St. Louis Cardinals. Get your own personalized bat here at the ballpark. Pat Daly and Cardinals Authentics, located just beyond the center field wall in the Ford Plaza. Show you how to make your own bat, get it engraved. It's our call to the bullpen and Fernando Rodriguez.
Nice to have that 3-run cushion now, Dan. Those 2 runs in the 5th inning, big for St. Louis. Fernando Abad, the starter, it was good through 4, but as Jim DeShays told us before the game, he runs out of gas the 3rd time through the lineup, and that's about what happened with him.
And the first pitch is fouled back. That pitch at 94. They say that Rodriguez has hit 97 on the gun, but consistently around that 94, 95 mile an hour mark. San Diego winning again on top of Arizona. 0-2 pitch, fouled back. Line on Abad, 82 pitches, 5 innings, 6 hits, 3 runs, no walks, and he strikes out 6.
Holliday 2 strikeouts today, 0 for his last 8. If I could pick one Cardinal to get hot in the last 15 games, it would be Matt Holliday.
More so than Beltran?
More so than Beltran, because I think, can I have them both?
Sure. Why not? Get greedy.
Can I throw John Jay into that?
Just throw the lineup out there.
Right. Now, there's something about the power of Matt Holliday, as hard as he hits the ball and as far as he does, his RBI potential. And when your big guy, the guy in the middle of your lineup, is producing, it does something for the rest of your lineup, because you think, well, when I get to him, he's going to have a big at-bat. And it just, I think, builds confidence in a team when your big guy is producing.
2-2 the count.
We saw that for years with Albert.
No doubt.
Pujols, Jack Clark, who we ran into yesterday at Whitey's tournament, was that guy in the 80s.
The 2-2 pitch. Cincinnati, magic number is at 5. They're in the bottom of the 6th, and they lead Chicago 3-0. Here's a 2-2 pitch to Matt Holliday. In on his hands again. On the air tomorrow at 6:30. And then day baseball with Jaime Garcia against Bud Norris on Thursday. And it's off to Chicago. Chris Carpenter's debut. Not an easy place to do it either, in a pennant race and going to Wrigley Field.
Well, if anybody can overcome the elements, whether it's venue, weather, pressure of the game, importance of the game, it's Chris Carpenter. He's so strong mentally. And at times maybe wired a little bit too tight. He admits that too. He understands that there's times where, you know, he lets his emotions get the best of him, but you know, you'd rather have that tamed.
I'll take all of it.
Yeah, than the other way around. No question. Preparation.
Here's a 3-2 pitch. They set up inside, and Holliday takes a ball in. Good at bat. Dynamic pricing gives fans access to great deals throughout this season. And we have field level seats starting as low as $21 for tomorrow and Thursday's games. So field level seats, $21.
One thing that Chris Carpenter gives you is not just Chris Carpenter in what he does and as a competitor, as an example for his team, but it gives you a chance to have another one of those right-handed starters out in your bullpen that might be a boost that you need down the stretch. And if you get into a postseason situation, to have somebody else who's capable of being lights out in the 6th inning.
How big was that on Sunday to see Rosenthal give you 2 innings, 4 strikeouts, and then Shelby Miller picking up his first major league win?
So good to see.
Confidence for them individually, but also Mike Matheny. You wonder in a tight game, would he be more comfortable, more apt to go to those two? I think especially Rosenthal.
Well, you're pitching on the road. You've got to throw up a 0. That's it. I mean, game's over. So the pressure on you, and Fernando Salas, what he did with a runner at 3rd and 1 out, somehow wiggle out of that jam. And there's Miller on the left, Rosenthal on the right. That'll be something that helps in their development.
1 ball, 1 strike on Alan Craig. Short lead at first by Holliday. Rodriguez comes out. He's throwing hard. Now both Miller and Rosenthal projected at some point in their careers, as you get a look at the current hitting streaks in the National League, and 10 right now for Craig, both projected eventually to be in the rotation. Some have even said, why not look at Rosenthal as a closer, as hard as he throws?
Well, the Cardinals are starting with the mindset that he's going to be a starter, a number 1 or number 2 starter.
Craig strikes out. Krispy Kreme doesn't deal. If the Cardinals get 9 hits tonight, and they have 6 thus far, you're invited into Krispy Kreme tomorrow. You'll receive a dozen of their originally glazed donuts for only $3.99. Stop by one of the 4 St. Louis area Krispy Kremes for this sensational deal.
Fastball you're talking about up in the zone at 97. Very hard to catch up to. Alan Craig, who's a good fastball hitter, a little bit late.
Here's Molina, 1 for 2. John Mozeliak was asked about Oscar Taveras, the outstanding young prospect at Double-A. Helped win a Texas League championship, and why he was not brought up. He said at this point, he's happy with what he's got here. Does not want to start his clock. And that could be 2. No, it's off the glove of Altuve. And Holliday hustling into third base. A hard hit ball off the bat of Yadier Molina. And the runners are at the corners, and that'll be the second air charge to Houston. I'm not sure Altuve really hustled after this baseball once it got away from him.
I don't think he did either. He probably should have tried to backhand that ball number 1. Altuve, and we waited to see whether that's his 12th error or a hit. But he kind of just nonchalantly goes from there to get the ball. Holliday sees that. He looks at Holliday, and then he kind of kept looking at him and never really raced to the baseball. Whether he thought he was backed up or whether the center fielder would be in, either way, you got to go get that ball in a hurry, and I think that's why Holliday's at third.
One out, and here's David Freese.
I believe they're ruling that a base hit. Don't look at me like that.
Should have been an inning-ending double play.
I didn't rule it as a hit.
That's it. Get out of my face, Horton. Get out of here.
You gave me the menacing Dan McLaughlin
No,
look.
I don't have that look. All smiles over here, pal. Smiles, everyone smiles.
Well, it's a hit.
Here's the 0-1 pitch. Freeze grounds it left side. Out at second and out at first. It's a double play. Tough night for David at the plate. 5-4-3 on the double play. LOWRIE and the Cardinals back to work. 7th inning rolls in. Smoking related illnesses, including cancer, heart disease, and stroke. 10,000 in Missouri alone. Call the Missouri Tobacco Quit line to quit now. 1-800-QUIT-NOW. Rick Horton, Dan McLaughlin with you. A look at our AT&T trivia question. Who are the Cardinals players to win the Clemente Award? Saw one earlier in Albert Pujols. Ozzie has done it, as well as the great Lou Brock.
Outstanding.
3 Hall of Famers there. 2 officially in.
And 1 just a matter of time.
Cardinals will open up next year on the West Coast, and we will see Albert Pujols. Interleague play will take us to Los Angeles next year. Here's Justin Maxwell. First pitch is a fly ball into right. And Beltran makes the catch. So top of the 7th, and there's 1 out. Don't forget, this week, Fox NFL Sunday, the Rams go head-to-head with Jake Cutler and the Bears in Chicago. Coverage begins with the Built Ford Tough Fox NFL pregame show at 11.
And congratulations to Jeff Fisher, his staff, and all the players for their first victory. Good for them.
Here's LOWRIE with a line drive out to right that drops in for a base hit. What kind of reception do you think Pujols, if they were coming to St. Louis, what do you think he'd get next year?
If it were next year,
yeah,
that's your question.
I think
it would be 90% good.
Do you really?
Yeah. And I think if it's the year after that, I think it'd be even more so. Now I'm going to hear from the other 10%.
I'm one of them.
Okay.
I'll speak for the minority, I guess.
Well, they may not. It may not be the minority. It may not. And people can give them whatever kind of reception they feel like giving them, obviously, but I think the more time passes, I think the reception will be more favorable.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Then you start thinking, if and when he goes in the Hall of Fame, and you and I do believe it's only a matter of time, as he's closing in now on 500 home runs. Just tied Stan the Man the other day at 475. What hat he would wear heading into the Hall of Fame. One ball, one strike.
I think the strongest disagreement I ever had with Tony La Russa, and maybe pitcher batting eighth might have been number one, but number two would have been the fact that he was lobbying for Cardinal fans not to cheer for Jim Edmonds when he came back. And I just don't get that. I mean, I think there's a time where you recognize what somebody did for your city, and then doesn't mean you're cheering for them to get a hit in that game. You're just letting them know that we appreciate the memories and what you've done for us. But I think there are the folks that are in line behind you that would say what you've done for us is disappoint us by going somewhere else. So I get that too.
1 ball and 2 strikes.
What's bad about Jimmy's case is he didn't go because he wanted to. He didn't go by choice.
Two and two. Down by 3 runs. Will they start the runner here? 1 out, runner at first. 3-2 is a base hit into right field. The tying run will come to the plate. And it'll be runners at first and second. What's on tap is Lucas Harrell, 10-9 against Lance Lynn, 15-7. Budweiser, what's on tap? They'll lean out to settle down Loesch. 1 out, back-to-back hits. Jason Castro will be the hitter. Lance Lynn's return to the rotation, awfully good the other day.
We had that very good outing out of the bullpen after a couple of subpar outings as a reliever, and he used that as a building block to have that nice start, and you feel good about Lance Lynn again. Feel like maybe he's going to just put together another string, and maybe he just needed to kind of get redirected a bit and woken up a bit, whatever you want to say, but he appeared to be back on track in that last outing. Mujica getting loose.
Loesch would love the ground ball and a double play here. Changeup. Boy, that has been such a nasty pitch all season long.
Such a great weapon. You got a hitter trying to drive in a run. Astros get an opportunity. First pitch, he's ready to just jack it and takes a big swing, and the ball's not there yet. Fooled on the off-speed delivery. Cardinals defense straight away in the outfield, slightly to pull on the infield.
Here's the 0-1. 1 ball, 1 strike.
That's the language you get in hitters meetings when they talk about, in defensive meetings, pitchers meetings, they talk about how you're going to defend this hitter. They'll say shade him a bit to the left or slightly to pull. That's the language that players are used to talking about.
On a play. 1 ball and 2 strikes. The outfield is fairly shallow.
And they'll certainly talk about outfield depth, and a lot of times they'll talk about pitching a guy who's kind of a slap hitter. Another phrase you hear a lot is pitch him away, play him away. If it's a guy you don't think is going to hit the ball over the left fielder's head, you pitch him away and make him hit the ball that way, and you have your outfielder in enough. We see some teams do that with John Jay and Daniel Descalso and Skip Schumacher. They'll pitch him away, play him away.
1 ball and 2 strikes. Ground ball. There it is. Hit to the right side. Out there. Can they turn 2? Safe. Hit just slowly enough, and Castro able to beat it down the line. Runners at first and third. 2 down.
Hit maybe just a little too slowly, and he was indeed safe at first. One more look at it on the bag. Ball not there yet.
Detroit holds on and defeats Oakland by the score of 12-2 in a much needed win for the Tigers. Milwaukee top of the ninth, and it's 6-0 now over Pittsburgh. That's at PNC Park. Runners at first and third. Matt Dominguez looks at a pitch a little bit low. Realistically, Rick, on paper, first of 9, Houston and Chicago. How many do the Cardinals have to win?
Well, have to, want to, need to, hope to, all may be different answers, but I would say you have to win at least 6 of them. And of course you want to win them all, but I think realistically, if you win 6 of them, you minimize any chance of the Brewers or the Phillies just kind of going on a tear where they go 6-0, 7-0, 8-0, right, and now all of a sudden you're tied with them too. I don't see the Dodgers in their current state going on a win streak. I may be wrong about that, but I didn't see anything in Los Angeles that made me worry about those Dodgers other than their payroll.
But it's surprising.
Yeah.
You know, on paper, and you hear about the trade, but then to watch it in person, you didn't see that fire or spark that maybe you thought that kind of deal would bring to them.
Hanley Ramirez looked like he was a 45-year-old shortstop. Adrian Gonzalez looked about the same at first base. Wasn't moving well at all. Both of them seemed very tight and not very smooth. Gonzalez actually a very good fielder, but he just seemed stiff, seemed like he'd gotten old quickly. And his bat got slower. Matt Kemp is clearly not ready to play every day, recovering from his injuries. Timing's way off. The Cardinals twice walked around somebody to pitch to him. The guy that could have been the MVP a year ago, and you're walking somebody to pitch to him. What does that tell you?
2-2 pitch. Did he get him? No. Loesch and Molina walking off the field. They thought that was it.
Saw Loesch over 100 pitches, and Loesch has shown no effects, Dan, from that slip and fall that he had earlier. I've just kind of been watching him just to see if there's anything different. He has given up a couple hits this inning, but I think he's 100% fine.
Runner from first off with this pitch. Here's a 3-2 instead. A check on the runners. Maybe Loesch's final inning. He is due up third.
Solid 7 would be enough.
A fly ball out to left. It'll stay in the ballpark. 3-0 Cardinals on top. Time to stretch. Descalso, Cosma, and Loesch's spot due up. MVP of the American League. If not, he's either number 2 or number 3. Here's a look at our Subway sub prize on the line, and it's the wild card of the American League: Oakland, then Baltimore, LA, Detroit, and Tampa Bay. 2012 records last season, above 500 when it happened. A's in 06. Washington, nearly a 90-win team in 2003, and then all the way back in 1997 for Baltimore. So 3 teams trying to break through, and arguably the best story is what's happening in that Washington area with both those teams.
With both teams, exactly. And I would say Washington would have been at least predictable, but Baltimore would not, considering the division they play in.
No doubt.
I'd like to see the guy that said Baltimore is going to challenge the Yankees for the American League East crown. I have not met anybody that really thought that was possible.
If that's the case, I'm going to find that gentleman, wait for you to do a pregame show or postgame over at Lumiere, and he's coming with us.
That's right. Good idea, Daniel.
Rick,
you're thinking now.
I found the only guy that predicted Baltimore. What do you got on you? Feeling lucky. 3-0 on Descalso, and Daniel with an RBI base hit back in the second.
And then find the guy that thought the Cardinals would win the World Series when there was 2 strikes on David Freese.
No doubt. Well, even Tony La Russa, in his new book, he pointed out that he made calls down to the bullpen a couple of times to Derek Lilliquist, and the phone did work apparently for those conversations. And he said, I want to make sure that if Texas wins, our guys salute the fans for the great run and support that we've had. And he apparently did that in the dugout. I can't ever see Tony La Russa doing that, conceding that someone else may have beat him, especially in a World Series, but he wanted that to be done.
Speaking of winning, one more congratulations to the Cardinals AA affiliate in Springfield. Won the Texas League Championship. Mike Schilt, the manager, has now won 3 years in a row in the minor leagues. He won twice in Johnson City, now the 3rd year in AA. So he's obviously doing a fantastic job developing Cardinal players and developing winners.
Shift is on here for Daniel Descalso. So even with the non-power hitters,
this makes little to no sense to me why you would ever shift. I mean, Daniel Descalso, he's a big leaguer. He's our guy. We like him, but you really have to shift on Daniel Descalso.
3-2 pitch, and it's a walk. Roberto Clemente Day around Major League Baseball. Matt Holliday, the local recipient of the award.
And Roberto Clemente Day on the bases here.
Does it make any difference to you, Rick, that a pitcher is throwing mid-90s as opposed to what you might see with a guy that tops out at 88, 89? You know, might think it'd be tougher to pull, and yet they still have a shift on for him.
And that's one of the factors, clearly, and that's not even the major factor to me. One of the factors to me is you'll put the shift on a player to almost entice him to go the other way because you're worried about his power. Well, that's not the case in Daniel Descalso.
And Daniel can go the other way.
And he can go the other way, which let's say he couldn't. You're still, part of the reason you shift over is to try to force the hitter to do something different. If you force Daniel Descalso to hit the ball the other way, you're doing the Cardinals a favor.
I agree.
Don't they know that Daniel Descalso is our Schnucks difference maker?
Look at that. Popped right up when you said it. And you didn't even know it was coming, did you?
Well, I knew Baltimore was going to be battling the Yankees for the American League East.
That's it. We're done. We're headed to Lumiere. Put down the headset.
See you over there.
1-0 pitch. 1 ball, 1 strike. Skip Schumacher is at the on-deck circle. Found it interesting that John Mozeliak was talking about the Double-A team and Oscar Taveras, and he said, in my nearly 2 decades of being associated with the team, and John Mozeliak has done just about everything in this organization in the front office, including running the minor leagues. Best prospect not named Pujols. And he said he's right there with him.
Wow.
Now that's high praise.
You bet it is.
And Oscar plays right field. You also have Colton Wong, who he's very high on, and most believe at this point could play in the major leagues defensively. So give him another year of seasoning in the minor leagues with pitching and seeing that, but defensively they say he's ready to go.
And Taveras has played some center field too, and really projects probably more as a left fielder than as a center fielder or right fielder. He's not really known most for his defense, but all of his other tools, his ability to hit with power, that's why everybody likes him. And Colton Wong, as you said, more of a complete player in terms of being a guy that can hit but also hurt you with his glove.
The 2-2 on its way. 3-2. The Cardinals want to start the runner again. Castro has thrown out 2, and both times it was John Jay.
Well, the decision was made not to bunt with Cosmo, which would be an option. You have a 3-run lead in the 7th inning, and you're going to pinch hit for your pitcher anyway, so that would have been an option. So now the option turns to hit and run. I'm sending him. I've got a 3-run lead, so I'm feeling a little frisky, but I'm sending him. If I was down 3, I sure wouldn't. Now I'm going to double down, send him again.
What are you showing? Knowing you, it's probably a 6.
Ace king.
Here's a 3-2 pitch. Instead of check on DESCALSO.
Nice hole on that right side for Cosma. Somebody's going to have to cover. Is it the second baseman or the shortstop? If Cosma guesses right, he can hit it right in that lane.
Not running on the 3-2 and swung on and missed. Rodriguez has his 2nd strikeout. The pinch hitter will be Schumacher for Loesch. Hoping that things get serious tonight, because if the Cardinals score 6, any size drink, just 50 cents all day tomorrow at your nearest On the Run and mobile. And this year's 6 is a serious number. Tell you about the change. Loesch is out. Schumacher will pinch hit when we come back. flight, the sure sign of a good time. Here we go. And by Taco Bell. Taco Bell, Liv Moss. We're in St. Louis. The Cardinals have a lead of 3-0. Another very good outing for Kyle Loesch. 7 innings, 4 hits, no runs, walked 2 and struck out 5. 102 pitches tonight. Xavier Cedeno is the new pitcher in. He's a lefty. Cardinals pull back Schumacher, and Shane Robinson will be the pinch hitter with a runner at first.
The numbers for Cedeno. He does have 1 save out of the bullpen. The closer for the Astros is currently Wilton Lopez, right-hander. Not an overpowering guy, just a guy that throws strikes. Don't really have a classic closer at the moment.
Game started with Abad, and Cedeno began this season at AAA Oklahoma City at a .42 ERA. 17 games. Then he was promoted to Houston when Abad was placed on the 15-day disabled list. Originally drafted by Colorado, 31st round in 2004. Did not play in 2010. Hails from Puerto Rico. Tommy is our director tonight. Mike Helling, our producer. Brian McCann, Danny Martinez, Keith Oberman, and his cousin Keith O'Brien helping out as well. That's taken inside.
So Shane Robinson batting for Skip Schumacher, batting for the pitcher spot. And Robinson's become the real #1 right-handed choice off the bench. 45 at-bats. As a pinch hitter, he has 11 hits.
Here's a 1-0 pitch to Robinson. Inside, and it's 2 balls and no strikes.
Wonder if Mike Matheny was thinking ahead there and sent Schumacher to the plate, thinking they would go to the left-hander and then he would use Robinson so he'd save Matt Carpenter. I don't think you really want to waste Matt Carpenter as your #1, I would say, pinch hitter off the bench in terms of
definitely
capacity right now.
And it's 3-0. Front office of Houston has been on record as saying that this rebuilding project is 3 to 5 years minimum. And from a fan's perspective, they have the honeymoon, I guess, of moving into the American League next year. American League West, so seeing some of the players and teams that they're not accustomed to playing or seeing. And then after that, really got to start putting something together and winning some games.
Then the honeymoon's over.
Exactly. 3-2. Jim Crane, their new owner, has St. Louis ties. And the ownership group that's now currently with LA actually thought about getting into the ownership group of the Astros, but there were rumblings that LA could open up, so they stayed away from Houston. Paid a hefty price, and now they own the Dodgers. Los Dodgers.
You really worked on your Spanish on this last trip, didn't you?
I tried.
Was all that time visiting with Fernando Valenzuela and Jaime Jarrín?
Too fast for me. Well, a few words here and there I got. But
and you know it's too fast for me, too. You just nod a lot and smile.
They do that, too, with us. So.
That's right.
Three-two pitch. We'll do it again. The way it falls, Carpenter makes that start on Friday. Potentially, you could see him pitching the wild card game to get into even further postseason play. Wouldn't that be something? Could fall on his day.
I think it's something that we're just getting a chance to see him anyway in Chicago.
Runner goes on the 3-2. That'll avoid the double play. Nice hands down at third.
A couple of good plays by Dominguez, former Marlin. We saw him in spring training a lot as a kind of a young future star with the Marlins, and that kind of didn't pan out very well. Now he's an Astro, getting a chance to play, but really soft hands today.
Sometimes, Rick, it's just a change of scenery, change of coaching staff, philosophy, whatever the case, but just a fresh start. And that's what Houston is banking on with some of the players that they've gone out and acquired.
Yeah, and they're going to have to do more of that. They're going to have to continue to find prospects that maybe have a chance to flourish with a chance to play. I think Tyler Green would be the perfect example of somebody that, you know, why not take a shot? Your team's 48-99. Why not play this guy that we think might be a chance to be an everyday shortstop? Sure. And they thought that here in St. Louis up until about 2 weeks into the season. And then that job was taken from him. You really have nothing to lose at that point.
Runner at second base, John Jay. Strike at the knees. The Cardinals gave Tyler Green just about every chance to run away with that position, especially in spring training. Jay, hard hit, base hit into right field. Throw coming in is offline and cut off. And scoring is Descalso. 8 hits tonight for the Cardinals. John Jay with a pair of RBIs.
Nice to see a good offensive day for John Jay, who had just 4 hits in 32 plate appearances on the road trip. But this one against a left-hander, a curveball, he drives it to right. Hits that ball right on the nose and scores his buddy Daniel Descalso.
Now it's Beltran. He struck out twice tonight. Go along with a single. 2 outs and a runner at first. Again, Loesch tonight with 7 innings, 4 hits. Struck out 5 and no runs allowed. Mitchell Boggs has been throwing in the Cardinals bullpen.
I alluded to John Jay and Daniel Descalso being friends. It's always interesting to watch relationships form on teams and guys who will get closer to one another. Usually the bullpen guys become close, the starters become close, and you know, players tend to be aloof anyway at this level. You just learn to be that way, but you form these friendships. But then about the last week of the season, somebody starts talking about it's pretty soon we'll get to pick our own friends. Basically, the comment is aimed at you have no choice. These are your friends for 6 months, your teammates. You're going to be with each other a lot of hours a week, traveling, meals, competing together, and somebody will say coldly that last week, and the Astros are already starting to think about who their real friends are.
0-2 pitch taken high. Beltran is under contract after this year. 1 more season here in St. Louis. 1-2 pitch. Stays alive.
So when Carlos Beltran was signed, if the numbers you knew right away would be 267 batting average, 29 home runs, 87 RBIs, I'd have to say you'd jump at that.
I'd also look at games played.
Yeah.
You know, to me, that might even stick out more so than the numbers of the home runs and RBIs as the ball scoots away. You know, and what we talked about with Beltran coming into the season, Rick, was the fact that the concern was keeping him on the field. And for the most part, day in and day out, he's been there.
Maybe the biggest question mark about the Cardinals, other than maybe defense too, but one big question coming into the season was the health of David Freese, Rafael Furcal, Carlos Beltran, Adam Wainwright, Chris Carpenter. Will these guys hold up? Alan Craig. You're talking about the core of your team. Wondering how many games each would play.
It's game number 148 tonight for the Cardinals, and Beltran is playing in game number 138. Pretty impressive.
Agreed.
Crowd tonight of 35,422. There's a broken bat and a foul ball.
You mentioned earlier, Dan, how many Cardinal wins do you have to get against the Astros and the Cubs in these next 9 games? And kind of said 6 at least, hoping for more than that. But I would say if the Cardinals can go 10-5 in their last 15 games, including this one, they win 87 games. And I think you win 87 games, it would be very tough for another team in that wild card to beat you.
We were thinking that the wild card, the number 1 wild card, would be around 90-91. So 87 sounds about right.
If the Cardinals go 10-5, you'd be forcing Milwaukee or Philadelphia or Pittsburgh to go 13-2, which they could do, but that would be tough to do. So I think 10-5 probably puts you ahead of Los Angeles and those other 3 teams. 10-5 won't be easy.
Here's a 2-2 pitch.
That's his countryman he just threw out.
I was about to say, I wonder if these two know each other, both from Puerto Rico.
He needs to tell him I'm the modern day Roberto Clemente.
How about that when you hear that? You're Carlos Beltran.
Humbling.
You bet. The 3-2 pitch to Beltran. Struck him out, and he strikes out for the 3rd time tonight. Cardinals add to their lead, and it's 4-0. for St. Louis. Cardinals with 8 hits tonight. And a look at that second wild card position. Cardinals trying to go to 78 and 70. 6 outs away from doing that. They lead LA by a game. Mitchell Boggs is in for St. Louis. He's 3-1. 2.32 ERA. Fortunately for Mitchell, he couldn't pitch on Sunday. He's out with a sore back. And the off day yesterday, but good enough to go tonight.
Becomes such a weapon for Mike Matheny and Derek Lilliquist. Always had a good fastball. That pitch at 95, but he's also developed the changeup split, and he'll call him either one of those depending upon the day. But the pitch that goes down and away and sinks. It was a little harder than a normal changeup, but the effect has been a lot of ground balls. And surprisingly, because I think that's a hard pitch, Dan, to command, he really does have good command of it.
Just joining us, it was Loesch who gave the Cardinals 7 innings. That's hit out of play. And John Jay, a pair of RBIs tonight. He also has an 11-game home hitting streak. Dates back to August 19th. Nine multi-hit games during that streak here at home. Woof. Well, we talked about it earlier. Mike Shannon on the pregame saying, hey, you have one shortstop and maybe you stick with him all the way through. Question would be, do you feel comfortable with a Pete Kozma, or do you feel that a Daniel Descalso maybe plays there because he's been through postseason play? That's hit down the right field line and a base hit.
Jimmy Paredes traded to the Astros in the Lance Berkman deal, and very talented player from the Yankees, and they expected him to come a little bit faster. He was in the big league some in 2010 with the club, but just not quite the player they thought he would be yet. But he gets things started here in the 8th inning. I think the question about the Cardinals shortstop, I think Pete Kozma is trying to give the answer. It's me. The way he's playing and the way he's swinging the bat, he hitting over 300, and maybe you keep him there until he fails. Daniel Descalso has been in a bit of a fielding slump, which is weird to say about Descalso because he's known for his good hands and he makes so many outstanding plays, but he's been missing out and messing up a lot of routine plays. Very odd for him. And not so much a natural shortstop as Kozma is. And I think Mike Shannon's point is, look, we won with Dal Maxwell at shortstop, and we didn't care what he hit. We want somebody steady there, and we want a steadying influence, somebody you can count on.
Here's a ground ball right side and a base hit. Runners at first and second.
Oh-2 pitch, too much of the plate, and Daniel Descalso broke the wrong way on this ground ball. Had a slow jump, and maybe the pitch location is why he was moving in one direction, and the mislocation may have messed him up.
Here's Scott Moore. The Brewers begin a trip tonight. 10 games, Pittsburgh, Washington, and Cincinnati. They win their 21st out of 27. 13 hits, all were singles. They had 7 steals in the game, most since 1992 that they've had. Giovanni Gallardo made that start. Outside. 1-2 the count.
Brewers are playing exciting baseball right now. They believe they're good. I thought that might have hit something. I wasn't sure if it was the bat or Scott Moore. Scott Moore is saying that it hit me. And you can hear the home plate umpire saying it hit the ground. Well, what does it hit? He's saying his back leg.
And that's taken outside. Brewers are now 1 game behind the Dodgers. Dodgers led Milwaukee by 6 games back on September 1st. Things getting a little anxious here. The 3-2 pitch. The fly ball lifted out to left center field. Jay makes the catch. Runner tags up. The throw will come into second base wisely.
Communication so important during a game, and let's hear if we can pick up the Cardinals talking about where this throw should go. Fly ball to center, just listen. Two. John Jay hears that before he catches it. Everybody lines up to second base. You keep that extra runner from getting into scoring position, and that's communication at its best.
Here is Brett Wallace. 1 out, runners at first and third.
Altuve goes to tag up at first, just in case that throw doesn't come to second base.
Here's a 1-0 pitch. 1 ball, 1 strike. One and 2. Wallace on the night. Popped out to third, flied out to center, and grounded out to second.
Dan, not to make any kind of excuse for Mitchell Boggs because he appears to be fine, but you think about a pitcher with a back issue, it's like a golfer with a back issue. I mean, you've got a lot of torque in your delivery, and if your back isn't 100% right, that's problematic. He appears to be throwing free and easy, however.
Broken bat, that's a base hit into left field. Altuve stops at second. Houston on the board. It's 4-1. Tying run comes to the plate.
Sinker down and away.
Derek Lilliquist out to visit. Lefty is up and throwing in the Cardinals' pen. 19 pitches already for Mitchell Boggs.
The 0-2 mistake to Altuve, probably the biggest problem that he's had in this inning. Paredes hit a little flare down the right field line. Not a broken bat single there. Zepchinski getting loose for St. Louis.
Saw him pitch Wednesday in San Diego. Runners at first and second. Think about Zubchinski and how important he could be to this team. You'd love to get him some work, and that one caught Molina. But you wouldn't want to do it at the expense of the potential of what's happening in the game. Salas, who got out of a bases loaded jam on Sunday, is getting loose, and just hope that Yadi's all right.
That Wednesday outing for Zubchinski looked pretty sharp. Really quick 1-2-3 inning.
Mike Matheny knows a thing or two about those. The sore hand. Runners at first and second, and it's 0-2.
Kind of had the thought about Zubchinski of late, whether or not he would be better just being a sixth inning pitcher. Forget lefty righty, just let him pitch an inning. Seems to me that he's a little better once he's out there getting the field than coming in and you got one guy to face, and then he kind of overcooks his slider and gets behind, and he's got good stuff. And maybe he would be better off being an inning guy like Fernando Salas is.
Time is called. Justin Maxwell at the plate, 0-2. Be careful with him. Rick told you earlier about the home runs. Now with 16 on the year. He represents the tying run. The 0-2 pitch. Talk about Boggs throwing a heavy ball, Rick.
Sure does. That one looked like it might have eaten up Yachty a bit. Now he got kind of dinged 2 pitches earlier. You think he's probably still feeling the effects of that.
Slider misses out. Count is full and the crowd a little restless. Big pitch right here. Three-two pitch. Maxwell, a swing and a miss. That pitch at 97 miles an hour from Mitchell Boggs.
The strikeout he needed, full count. Here's the delivery. It's down, sinking even lower, out of the strike zone, but Maxwell couldn't lay off. Zebchinski. Been surprised by that number because I think control's been an issue for him, but you got to give him credit. He's still battling. Key situation for him, and the manager's saying, I trust you with Jed Lowrie. Lowrie hits much better from the left side than the right. Part of the reason for this move, just 195 as a right-handed batter. And his power is all from the left side. I think that's what Mike Matheny's worried about. That's why he's not with Boggs. That's why he brings in Zebchinski. Only 2 home runs from the right side for Lowrie, and again 12 from the left side.
Runners at first and second. 2 down. First pitch. Ball 1. Our friend Matt Shedd, who works for the St. Louis Cardinals for opening day, put together a video. The reactions of the fans from Game 6 and Game 7. A YouTube video. And it's shown here on the big board occasionally. It is sensational. To the point, Rick, where opposing players have asked the Cardinals quietly, is there a chance I could get a copy of that video because I want to show it to my teammates as motivation? It's a tremendous video.
It captures the personal fan reaction to a great baseball moment in a way that's been hard to do. You can get fans' reaction here at the ballpark.
Fly ball into shallow right, and the catch is made on the run by Shane Robinson. Zebchinski gets the final out. Here in the 8th, Shane Robinson, the catch in right. And our score is the Cardinals on top by the score of 4-1. Let's turn to our drive of the game, presented by Nissan. Pete Kozma, triple early on.
He has provided a spark offensively for the Cardinals, swinging the bat very well. And he's getting a chance to play some shortstop. Very important position.
Matt Holliday will lead it off. Average at 295. Matt with a walk and 2 strikeouts. It's a 4-1 lead for St. Louis. And Holliday on the first pitch grounds it to short. 1 away. Hitless night for Matt Holliday. And it brings in Alec Craig. On the air tomorrow at 6:30, Lance Lynn 15-7 against Lucas Harrell. And Harrell is 10-9. It's not only been a shakeup with the players and the 25-man roster, but also a shakeup in the front office for Houston as well going into next season. Scouting director, minor league system. Here's Craig, and he looks at a strike. Allen tonight is grounded out to third. That was in the second inning. He's popped out and also struck out. Big gap in left center. 0-2 the count. And in on the hands of Alan Craig, and a strikeout. And just like that, 2 quick outs. This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the Cardinals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals. Shift is on here for Yadier Molina. We've seen how well that Yadi is able to take a pitch to right. Here's another one I'm not sure I would agree with.
Agree. I'm with you. Whether you're getting that from a scouting report somewhere, I just don't understand. Anybody that's watched Yadier Molina play for an extended period of time knows how well he hits the ball the other way.
We know
and not only that, Yadi is the guy, Dan, that if he wants to, he can hit the ball the other way.
And we know that Jeff Luhnow, very much numbers-based guy, and I just wonder if they're just taking this straight off of that. This is what the numbers show.
Well, the numbers show that the guy hits the ball on the left side of the infield a lot when you're not playing there. But if you're playing there, he might not anymore. So the numbers could be irrelevant.
The other thing is, last 2 pitches, he's pitched him outside. We know that if you pitch him outside, more times than not, Yadi will go with that pitch and take it to right. Sometimes, though, he'll roll over and hit a ground ball, but.
And again, if you're trying to negate the power potential of a particular batter. Now, Yadi does have 19 home runs. You might put a shift on to try to entice him to go away from his power. But I don't think that's the case with Molina. The Cardinals, by the way, Dan, have a chance to have 5 players to hit 20 or more home runs for the first time ever in their history. If Molina and Freeze can hit 1 more. And they might as well do it now.
Freeze on deck, 3-1 the count here on Molina. Outfield shades him to right field, infield on the left side. Doesn't matter, they walk him. So it's a 2-out walk by Valdez, and it brings in David Freeze.
I think thinking, Dan, listen to this statement. Thinking in baseball, I think thinking is a good thing, but too much thinking just gives you a headache. And I think there's some major league teams that are giving themselves headaches right now.
A lot of players that do that too.
No question.
You think about
that's what a slump is.
All the time that guys spend looking at videos, looking at the numbers, instead of sometimes just taking you back to the way that they play the game as a kid. And I'm not saying that that's how it's done at this level, but sometimes just see the ball, hit the ball.
Reaction.
Exactly. React. not think. 0-1 pitch to Freeze. Breaks his bat, slowly hit. Can he beat it out? It's barehanded, and he's safe at first. David needed that. They shattered his bat.
That's a big league broken bat right there. It shatters into multiple pieces. Hear that sound, and it's thankful everybody's okay. You know, one more look, the bat, and it's pieces. The point, Dan, about overthinking is, and I like to use the analogy of, because most people have played darts before. Now, most people haven't worn a big league uniform and had a chance to pitch, but everybody's played darts. Well, if you're going to play darts with your buddies or your friends or your spouse, and you want to look at video about where your elbow is, do you want to kind of look about video of last week on how you did with that particular dartboard, and do you want to kind of study the dartboard? I mean, at some point it's feel and instinct, right? And you just do it, and you throw a dart, and then you adjust to the next one. You make an adjustment.
Whose picture do I get to put up and throw?
Well,
I get to throw at somebody's picture on this.
I would hesitate to ask you the question, who would you want to throw at?
Where are those glamour shots that you brought in that one day? Back there.
So that's your motivation.
You were a hungo, right there.
Maybe,
right between
maybe
the
a
eyes.
picture of Al and I together. There you go. We're the bullseye.
I know what you're saying, though.
Thanks for confusing my point.
The idea is, don't think. Enjoy it.
React.
React,
and it's a feel thing. It's a hand-eye coordination sport, like shooting a free throw.
What time would you get to the ballpark?
On a normal day?
You know what?
I would be one of the earliest players, and I would get there about 3:30 because I like to run early. But I'd be late now.
Whitey would make you guys there by 4:30, 5 o'clock?
If your pitcher ought to be there by 4, or earlier if you had to get treatment. But 4 o'clock for a 7 o'clock game would have been pretty standard. Some of the regulars would come a little bit later than that.
Whitey didn't want you there.
No, he didn't want you there.
Earlier.
And he wanted you out when you were done, too.
His idea was get away from it. Don't overthink it. Relax.
Right. Get up, go fishing, take a nap, come play, do the same thing the next day.
Here's a 1-2 in the dirt, and the runners stay put. Be Martinez, Castro, and Dominguez coming up for Houston. Be hard pressed to find a household name right now with the Houston Astros. Those that follow baseball know about Altuve, All-Star this year.
Jed Lowrie, maybe.
Yeah. The 2-2. Taken there by the shortstop Lowrie. Steps on the bag. Cardinals will strand 2. They've stranded 6 on the night. Minus coming in.
Cardinals leading 4-1. They've out-hit the Astros 9-7. Jason Mott will have the 9th here at Busch Stadium. Game 1 of a very quick 3-game homestand for the Cardinals hosting the Houston Astros. 35 saves for Mott on the season, looking for 36 here tonight. Our Budweiser player of the game, Kyle Loesch, the starter for St. Louis, 102 pitches, 7 solid innings, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts, and Loesch looking to pick up victory number 15 if Jason Mott can close the door on the Astros here in the 9th. They'll face Martinez, Castro, and Dominguez.
Fastball and a strike in 96 from Mott. One thing about Jason, Rick, we don't see that velocity have the big drop-offs at all. I mean, the dead arm stage, you just don't really see or hear about that with Jason Mott.
When he first became a closer, there was a short period of time where he had that out of spring training. He was throwing 99, close to 100 in spring training, and came to St. Louis, and there was something that was a bit off on his mechanics, and maybe he was trying to guide the ball a bit. How about that movement? 92 with some movement. But you just don't see the drop off from him. I agree. Since he's been really firmly established as the closer, I mean, he doesn't get the job done every day, but most days he does. One more save will tie him with Hanrahan. Looks like he's dropping his arm down a bit and throwing a bit of a sinking fastball too.
Kind of running in on a right-hander there. ERA will drop to 2.71 for Loesch, which puts him just a shade back of Kershaw, 2.70. Dickey is at 2.67. Step closer, you'd have to say, for consideration of the Cy Young Award. Get him to 15 players.
So you drop down on the sinker, now you drop down on the cutter, and it's the same arm angle, and he's thinking sinker, and now it goes away, and he was way off balance on that swing. So
it's nasty.
It seems that Jason Mott may be trying something a bit different here, a little bit less over the top and a little bit more the fastball, same arm angle as the cutter.
Now Jason Castro. There it is again. A little tailing action.
And you just wonder whether this is something he's experimenting with here, or maybe just doing by feel, warming up in the bullpen, and all of a sudden it's moving and it's nasty, and found a new arm slot and you try it. It's not drastically different, Dan, but we're seeing a lot more movement on his fastball. That's very hard to hit, and that's a little off-speed pitch.
Well, he's still growing, you know, into this role and just being a pitcher, period. We were talking the other day about that, and the grips, off-speed pitch. As you said, it used to be just rear back and fire, and he could get away with that because he's throwing 97, 98, sometimes 99 or 100, but adding these little wrinkles, boy, he could be nasty, and he already is.
Straight fastball, not straight, but inside fastball in on the hands of Castro at 97. He's got no chance right now.
0-2 the count.
But he's going to get the cutter instead, inside. Well, he didn't have any chance to hit that one either.
No chance whatsoever.
Thank you for agreeing with me.
74 strikeouts after the strikeout moments ago in 65 innings. Here's a 1-2. See him do that with the hat. He says he has no idea why. And sometimes
that's reacting. That's the not thinking we were talking about.
Screaming into the hat. We've asked him, what are you saying? He says, I have no idea. Claims it's not curse words.
I believe him.
The 2-2 pitch. Ouch.
It's the second time that Yachty's gotten dinged here late in this game. Just barely off the end of the bat and hits him in the left ankle, I would say, or thereabouts. Right ankle.
The 2-2.
I wonder if a catcher ever sits back there and just says, why am I doing this? I mean, I should have been a first baseman.
Yeah, but then the 1st and 15th rolls around. He says, I know why.
That's a very, very good point.
The 2-2. But maybe he does say, in the other positions I could have played and I chose this. And Yachty, by the way, still has been walking around a little bit behind home plate, shaking out the leg. Here's a 2-2.
If I didn't know better, I'd call that a sinker. 95 miles an hour. Two-seamer. Yachty actually giving a little circle with his finger, too. Asking for that.
High fly ball out to center field. Jay is on the move, and he's got it. Falling down on the track, but he makes the catch. A long way to go for John Jay.
Gets there on the track, makes the play, then looks for his footing, and just kind of glad he didn't hit the wall on that fall. He didn't really fall on purpose. I think he just kind of tripped after he made the play, but just thankful that that head of his didn't hit up against the center field wall.
Remember when Rick Ankiel lost his footing and ran into the wall?
Exactly.
Matt Dominguez, the final hope for Houston tonight with 2 down here in the 9th inning. Cardinals leading 4-1. Three 3-0. Dominguez with 2 flyouts. Also a double back in the 3rd, then left stranded. 35,000 plus on their feet. (3-1) is hit sharply to 3rd. What a play here by Freeze to end the night. Fantastic play to his left and a hard hit ball, and Mott picks up the save, and the Cardinals pick up the win. 4-1 over Houston tonight, so they lead Los Angeles by a game and a half. Milwaukee stays 2.5 out. Pittsburgh drops to 3.5. The Phillies are at 4.
Cardinals take care of business tonight at home against the Astros. They've now beat them 6 straight. Kyle Loesch with his 15th victory against just 3 losses. Again, Mott the save. Very good pitching for St. Louis. And 9 hits and 4 runs was enough.
David Freese, nice play to his left. Post-game show is coming up. Stay with us.